Jenny, thank you for having me and the team here at your beautiful property.
Thank you for coming.
Hotelito. It's a property that you built.
Yeah.
How many years ago?
I came here 20 years ago, and I started building the next year, so 19 years ago.
Where did you come from 19 years ago?
I came from Los Angeles and a ranch north of Los Angeles in the Sequoia Forest. Prior to that, I was in London 10 years.
I could tell by the accent.
Yes, I haven't lost it, have I? I thought I had. I was in London for 10 years. Before that, I lived in Spain for 12 years.
Whereabouts in Spain?
Madrid.
Yes.
I did my design. I studied design in Madrid, and I worked in Madrid for a company, and then set up my own company. And then we had a big house in Mallorca.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, Ireland, because I'm half Irish.
Okay.
I'm a mongrel, I'm like a Baja mutt.
But you're originally from London.
Yes, originally.
And you lived and worked in different parts of Europe.
Yeah.
You went to LA.
And opened an office in Los Angeles.
What industry were you in?
Design. Interior design. I worked a lot with architects and,
In residential architecture?
and commercial. I worked on the Olympic Games for AT&T. In Atlanta, I did the Centennial Pavilions.
1996, Atlanta Olympics. You were involved in what aspect?
Design of the AT&T Pavilions.
Really?
I did the interiors for the media one and the interiors for the players, for all
The athletes.
All the athletes, and then the stage, and
Wow.
yeah, no, it was a huge job.
How do you get involved in that?
I got asked to do it by a production company who'd seen my work, and they'd been offered the job and realized that they were really good at doing the Academy Awards. Everything that wasn't real, that could be stapled behind.
Yep.
And they suddenly realized that they needed somebody who actually knew about regulations and fire hazards and how to make a sofa. And they threw me in, and I pointed out a few things that were kind of needed to be thought about or were practical.
How many years were you living in LA before coming down to Mexico?
Not that long, about 4 or 5 years full time.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going up to the ranch every weekend, and the weekends were getting longer up at the ranch, less time. I love LA, but I needed something else in my life. I needed more nature.
And that's why you came to Todos Santos.
I came to stay for a week for a vacation at a friend's house, which is that beautiful old colonial house, Casa Dracula. And I stayed for a week, and I thought, who'd want to live here? It's sort of dusty and horses. And then I completely fell in love.
And it was that very first week that you fell in love with that place?
Totally, yeah. But I then came back later in that. I came down in the May. I came back in July with my daughter. We drove from Los Angeles. I walked down the lane to the beach here and thought, that's it. I'm moving.
And is that when you bought this property?
I bought the property. I made an offer for the property in September.
2004?
2004. I sat with the owner under there were 9 mango trees and 7 palm trees. That was it. And then it was just a big field that he'd farmed all his life. And I was fortunate that I spoke fairly fluent Spanish because of my life in Madrid.
Right.
And I just fell in love with the land. It had. People say this place has this wonderful atmosphere and magic. It had it then. Mm-hmm. Before I did anything, it had it. And it's got these beautiful breezes from the Pacific all the time.
Aside from what you feel, because I know exactly what you're talking about,
yes.
feeling, the energy.
Yeah.
Was there anything tangible that you could actually say?
I love the fact that it was elevated. You have the palm grove below, and I'm on quite a high raised piece of land, and the town is just the other side of the palm grove.
Right. 5 minutes.
Yeah. And I can even walk through the palm grove. I used to ride through the palm grove with my horse when I needed to go to the bank. And
You can still do it? No.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I have a path. I take my
Does it
horse.
go through Neto Copel's property?
Yes.
Because that's gotten a lot of attention the last few years.
It has, and he's doing, he's doing some amazing things and stuff down there, and it's a great art venue and music venue.
Food.
Austeres, people absolutely love, and yeah, it's become a go-to place,
Right.
you know. But I know everyone down there.
Yeah.
I'm sort of a bit like the wallpaper, you know what I mean?
Well,
Know me.
before we start filming, you start mentioning people's names. I'm like, I don't know that person. I don't know that person because you've been here 20 years.
I've been
Really?
here 20 years. I have a real community here. And obviously that's changed a lot in the 20 years. There's a whole new influx of people, and I've met many of them. And I think one of the wonderful things for me, I mean, I was in my 50s when I came here. I'm now getting older.
More mature.
I'm more mature. I'm maturing like a fine wine. But I've become friends with a lot of younger people who've moved here, and it's really wonderful for me. I mean, they teach me a lot, and they keep my mind open to different things, and it's changing a lot. But I think it's in a great way. When I came here, a summer salad was a half-dead cabbage and a grated carrot, if you were lucky.
Yeah.
And now it's like arugula, organic this, organic that. It's a foodie paradise.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. And the organic produce, and it has a magic. It's very hard to define. I mean, I'm never leaving. Do you know what I mean? I'm at a new chapter in my life. Just put it that way.
You know, we met a few years ago.
That's right.
Right? And what drew me and what I will always remember is a special friend and family member, Colette.
Yes. Colette the pig.
Tell
Yes.
everyone Colette's story.
Oh, yeah. A great friend of mine had died in Madrid, and I was there, and when I came back, I was very sad. You know, I was just sad. And Don Javier, who worked for me and looked after the horses,
In that picture.
in the picture over there with the donkey, who arrived very much at the same time as Colette. She was abandoned. We had a bottle feeder. He brought me this mini pig.
What's mini?
I said the same thing.
Because pigs can get huge.
Oh, Colette was like an elephant. But he said, no, senora, it's a mini pig. And I said, I don't know. He said, yes, it's a mini pig. I said, no, pigs get very, very big, Don Javier. And he said, oh, so there's more for you to love. She then proceeded to grow. And there are a lot of creatives living here, actually.
Artists.
Artists, filmmakers, documentary makers. And I'm talking about people who've won Emmys. And there's an extraordinarily gifted group of people who live here. And a couple of friends had just come back from war zones and making films in, I don't know. And we were sitting at lunch one day, and suddenly the idea to make a film about Colette. And I think they all wanted to have fun. You know, they've been working very hard as in war zones. So a bunch of us, it started out with about 3 or 4 of us, and then it grew and grew and grew, and we called ourselves the Colectivo. And we made up the script as we went along. And anyway, it's a story about a pig who speaks with an English accent because she lives with an English person. And she wants to be an artist. And she discovers her métier is video.
Okay.
And Don Javier is her patron, and I'm her nemesis.
All right.
So, sorry, shouldn't do that. She loves him. He encourages her. I don't understand her as an artist. So that's the drama.
Okay.
And she goes to town and meets Michael, who owns the Todos Santos gallery. And he comes here to talk to her, and she persuades him to represent her.
Right.
Because she realizes if she wants to go to the Venice Biennale and Art Beau in Colombia, which is her ambition, that she has to be represented by a Mexican aid. Anyway, it continues, and let's just say we finished it. Everyone got in. We got more and more people involved. The band that's quite famous in Todos Santos and Cabo, I think, they've just been playing at El Ganso. Hijos del Trópico, the saxophone player played on hers. It just grew and grew and grew.
Mm-hmm.
So who did what? Hard to tell. She had a French art director, who's a camera guy, brilliant. I mean, she had quite a crew around her. And then another lovely Spanish girl said, why don't we do a fantastic premiere? Mm-hmm. And we were like, yeah, what a good idea. We'd never thought about anything happening. Right. We just made the film to have fun in the summer. It's a bit boring here in July. And we did a premiere. We raised $15,000 for the Padrino Foundation.
Fantastic.
And then there was a writing retreat here held by Allegra Houston, the sister of Angelica Houston. And one of the writers on the course was this extraordinary woman called Zoe Elton, who runs the Mill Valley Film Festival. And she had a special relationship with Colette. A lot of people did.
Yeah.
Colette had a huge group of friends. Oh, yeah, she had friends. She really had influential friends. And she said, submit it to us. Right. And I was like, but she said, send it in. And I said to my girlfriend, Lisa, who'd worked on a big film here, Patrono, she said, I didn't get accepted at the Mill Valley Film Festival. It's like a really important film festival. She said, yeah, send it in. So we submitted it. It was accepted.
Wow.
It was just at the start of COVID. So they went online. She pretty much opened the documentary section of the festival. And then Newsweek picked it up.
Jeez.
I know. I mean, how embarrassing to have a...
It's
in Newsweek. I mean, give me a break. So this wonderful girl, Kathleen Mellahan, who came down and interviewed Colette and Michael and Padrino, and suddenly it was this massive article in Newsweek.
Wow.
I think basically it was one of those feel-good articles. Yeah. It was such a difficult time for everyone at the beginning of COVID. And, and it was approached from that level, and at times like this, we need Colette.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so when I met Colette a few years ago, she was already a superstar.
Yes, she was.
Oh.
She was, yeah. No, she was a star. The local police officer used to bring young recruits to meet her. No, she was. I remember going out one night and I was chatting to this rather handsome man and he was being really nice to me. And someone came up and said, oh, you've met the pig's mother. I was like, really, that's who I've become? I'm the pig's mother? God, no, I used to be glamorous. I know. Now I'm the pig's mother. But it's part of life here. It's very sweet. The Mexican, it's very sweet life here. It's a great place also to grow older.
Yeah. You're a single woman.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And the whole time you've been here, single? Without a partner or for the most part?
No.
Okay. No. What is it like living single as a woman in her 50s and older?
Okay. I've had a few romances and friendships. I was married for a long time. I have had children. So it's not like it is for some of my 40-year-old friends who still have those ambitions. I've done it. Been there, got the children, For me, it's wonderful. My social life, I suddenly realized I was, riding with pearls, but I went to a huge party for 150 people on Saturday night at a friend's birthday, and then I never took them off. I forgot. I went to bed with them all and they stayed on. But no, I have a community here that I would never, ever have in London.
Yeah.
It's great.
Why do you think that's the case? I mean, having lived around the world,
Yeah.
worked and played,
Yeah.
why Todos Santos is different in that sense?
Well, it's a lifestyle choice. I think most people who come here have made a choice that they want to have a different life.
Yeah.
It's a small town, and I love the mix of cultures. Really, there's obviously the Mexican, the Todos Santeños. Then there's the American community. There's the Italian community. There's a lot of people here, and a lot goes on in people's homes. Although it's got the best restaurants, I'm sorry, the restaurants here are incredible.
Name a couple of your favorites.
My favorites, I love Mejibo for obvious reasons. He's a young Mexican chef doing wonderful food. I mean, really imaginative food. Jazz mango is great. I love the taco stand on the way out of town, Mi Pueblo. Oh my goodness, it's so good. They're from Jalisco. Obviously, Ostera. My daughter lives at Ostera when she's here. There's just so many. I mean, what do you want to eat?
Right.
You know, the best hamburgers. And there's a load of restaurants in Pescadero.
Yes.
Which is like another community. In the
It really is.
It really is.
It's right next door, but it's a different vibe and feel.
Totally different. It's totally different. And going to dinner in Pescadero is like a real deal. You know? 50, I don't know about that. No, it is another community, and I have many friends there, and I love it there. But this is just, it's an old community, Todos Santos. You know, it's been here for a long time. It's had its history of the sugar barons and the farming community and the fishing community. The big word is community.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I could never, even though I want to make my life smaller, I can't see me ever not having a place in Todos Santos.
Let's talk about the property.
Yes.
So it was 19 years ago you started building this out, and you have several structures on the property. And all being told, we have 10,000 square meters.
Just above,
right?
I think.
So it's over 2.5 acres for our Americans and that know acres. This house is the primary home.
Yes. This was the first house I built. It's my house.
Right.
And it reflects who I was when I was building it. I was in my 50s. My children were mature. So I wanted like a loft style concept.
Right.
And then the house just there with 2 bedrooms and bathrooms and a little kitchenette.
Yes.
Because they were growing up, they would come with their partners. And
so your kids would use that house?
That was their house, yeah. So it was a 3-bedroom house, but with a little separation.
Right.
Which is nice, actually, because everyone wants to come and visit you when you have
That's
a
true.
house in Todos Santos, which is heaven. But I quite
like the separation?
like the separation.
Your own roof?
Yeah, I do.
Your own kitchen and bathrooms?
Yeah, make your own cup of tea in the morning.
Right.
I like to do what I like to do in the morning. I like to meditate and what have you. So I built this house first. Then I built the other house, Casa Chilicote, thinking I would sell it. But then the income stream was so fantastic that it became a part of the
Why do you think
Hotelito.
this area is so rentable and in demand?
Because it's really great restaurants.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got something special.
And for those that know the different areas,
It's very
of
different
Todos
to
Santos, what would you call this area?
La Cachorra.
Very
La
popular.
Cachorra, very popular.
Because of the proximity to town,
Yep.
but you're
in the country. I mean, I love the fact that I'm on the edge of town, if you like. As time
5 minutes.
Yeah, literally. I'm really close, but when I'm back here, I hear birdsong.
Yeah.
It's another lifestyle. It's very different from Cabo.
It's very different. I mean,
Very different.
I mean, there's all this greenery right in front, and then you can go down the road and you're at the ocean.
I know. It is. I mean, I ride down the road on my horse to the beach, and the whales, that never gets old. You know, every January they come really close to shore at the end of this lane, La Cachorra, to the lagoon down there. And there's a beautiful hotel, La Posa, which has a sweetwater lagoon. And my understanding is that the whales come very close because there's a sweetwater plankton. So literally, you're sitting on the beach, you can count the whales fighting. I mean, I've seen their eyes.
Really?
It never gets old.
Yeah.
That never gets old. You know, every year I'm down at the beach watching the whales, and it's a very special place. So it's unique.
So you built this house first,
yeah.
and then you build the guest house next.
The whole thing is one.
Okay.
Yeah, I built this as one project. I then built Chilicote pretty much simultaneously.
That's the 3-bedroom.
That's a 3-bedroom house, which I was going to sell.
Yeah.
But it became part of the hotel in terms of a rental, an alternative. And then I had this idea that I should build a little Hotelito. And I was one of the first here. I mean, there was Hotel California, the Todos Santos Inn,
Right.
Bentley's, which was another story, and then me. I mean, and it was, I thought, well, I'll open in July, and that will give me time to iron all the problems out by October, November. I was packed from the day I opened.
And you built the 4 rooms.
I built 4 little cottages.
Right.
I thought, I think it's a bit like me. I think if you do what you really feel is right, people will come if you create it, you know. And so there's privacy. Everyone's got their own cottage, their own terrace. 2 of the places have their own gardens, but there's communal space too. And I think kind of that's who I am. So I just
Where you
did
can
my thing.
retreat to your own personal private space.
Exactly.
But you also have areas for
community, which I think if COVID taught us anything,
Yeah.
it was how important community is. And that's this place.
And I like how you put your personality into not just each one of the cottages, but every room that you have in this house and the guest house. Your creativity really comes alive.
Thank you. Well, I guess it was my chance because although I'd worked for 20 years in design in Madrid and all over the place, I was always working for other people.
Right.
And you temper what you're doing. It's the client's house. You want it to reflect them. It was the first time I'd built a house. I've restored houses for myself. In Mallorca, we restored a lovely old palazzo. But I never built a house. So this was like the first time in my life. Yeah. I was like, how do I want to live? You know, which is you don't get to do that very often in a lifestyle. You don't, build a house. What do I want?
Well, and
but thank you.
What's nice is you have a lot of distinct spaces, but you also have, you have your horses, donkeys, pigs. Unfortunately, Colette recently passed away.
Yes.
I was sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking, but
great story.
I know, but in this wonderful, magical way that happens here, I end up with pure serendipity. I end up with Colette's half sisters.
It's amazing.
I know. It's so sweet. I mean, it's so sweet. This vet rang me who works as a ranchero vet for the government. So there are 2 pigs that need rescuing, Jenny. Panchi, who is Don Javier's nephew who took over, went to get them. And the man started saying, oh, Todos Santos. I sent a little piglet to Todos Santos, and they made a film about her. And Panchi was like, that was our pig. And he said, oh, well, these are her sisters. So her legacy lives on.
And you were telling me that was just days after Colette passed.
They were born a few days after.
Oh, they were born a few days.
She died on the 18th. They were born on the 21st. And then they came to me 6 weeks later when I was ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready before.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And now this property is for sale.
Yes. Yeah. It's time. I'm not going to use that stupid R word because I don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for another chapter.
Yeah.
I want to spend more time with my children, traveling. I'm going to move all my animals up to a friend's ranch. And I will always have a foothold here. Yeah. And I will spend chunks of time here because how can I leave my animals? But I want to write my book. I I'm working with an editor, but it's very slow.
What kind of book? Autobiography?
It's a memoir. Yeah,
Yeah?
it's a memoir.
And how far along are you?
I've done a lot, but it's the shaping and working with the editor and filling in the bits that she can see need to.
Mm-hmm.
I find it hard. I find writing hard work. So I'm learning piano because that's a hobby and it's fun.
Have you written a book before?
No, but I've written a few articles.
Okay.
Yeah, but on design, you know. But I did do a 2-year MFA in creative writing, and I worked a lot for 8-9 years with the Todos Santos Writers Festival that comes here, and they have a great work thing.
We've talked about your involvement at the Olympics.
Yes.
What are some other things that could be a sneak preview to your autobiography, your memoir, things that you've been involved in that are noteworthy?
Well, you know, it's really difficult, to be honest. I don't want it to be. I did work for quite a lot of famous people, but there's a certain level you get to where they do not want publicity.
Right. You don't want
You sign.
Yeah, non-disclosures and things like that.
Yeah, and I work for a lot of people like that. And so I can't, and the reason they employed me
Discretion.
was discretion.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of art collection
Sure.
and where discretion is.
What can you say, generally speaking, working with wealthy people, famous people, in terms of what they value that we can learn from?
I think they really, really, really wealthy people. I think they value discretion very much. And I also think, you know, I was quite successful, you know, being English now, quite successful. And I did work on big projects. You know, I did Random House's offices in London, and yeah, I did do some interesting work. You know, it is at the end of the day, when you're working at that level, you're not talking money with the client, you're talking with their accountants. So you kind of have to come in on time and you have to come in on budget. And you may be the most creative genius on earth, but if you can't
Understand that business side.
The business
right?
side, it doesn't go down well. So, and I did have a good reputation on that basis. I can say one person because he was Paul McGuinness, who was a manager for U2.
U2.
And I did a number of houses for them in Ireland, and I really loved him and his wife Kathy, and I did a job, but I never forgot that I was working for them. And, you know, I had to get it done. And I talked to the accountant. So, you know, yeah, I think that happens a lot. And the big jobs like Random House, I'm dealing with the accountant. So you have to understand, prioritized. Being creative is maybe 5 order. When I used to go and give lectures in London to the design schools, the students would look appalled because I'd say, you know, how much do you think of what you do is creative?
Right.
And they say, 90%. And I go, 10, 20 if you're lucky.
Really?
Well, yeah, the rest of it is, you can have fabulous ideas. If you don't know who to go to, how to get it, you know, and make it happen.
Right.
And if you're doing things that have an opening day, like a hotel, they don't want to hear about your flat tire. You've got to be professional. You know, I mean, it's important. And I kind of think that people forget that.
Well, even in my business, we see either in a magazine or in a video or in a photo, all the glamour, but the majority of it is boring meetings, talking about numbers, budget, and managing clients' expectations.
Yeah. And it's called work.
And that's why you're in Todos Santos.
That's why I'm in Todos Santos, because that period, you know, I said it's new chapters. I loved it. And I really did love it. I worked in LA. I did, you know. But I was done.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way as I'm done in this chapter, I think knowing when you've given your best
Mm-hmm.
and when it's time to
Yeah.
move on
Yeah.
is good. And when I was married, for example, we did lead quite a glamorous life. My husband was a very famous wine merchant. I mean, he ran the Queen's, whatever. And then he opened all these clubs in London, like the Groucho Club, which was a members club, which you had everybody at. It was a private members club, and we owned a restaurant in Notting Hill, which was like, everybody was there. Bernardo Bertolucci, the whole Notting Hill crowd before the film. Mm-hmm. So it was lovely, and it was glamorous. But, you know, and that's why I think I'm going to call my book I Used to Be Glamorous. But there's different, this is what I like. I like looking after my animals. I like
The simple life.
the simple life.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've had lots of different reincarnations, but I think this one really suits me. I love it. I love being a foreigner.
Yeah.
You know, I do like being an immigrant.
Yeah.
I think it teaches you a certain humility. You know, you have to make, I'm sure you found this too, Nick. You know,
I agree.
you have to make an effort,
Yeah.
you know, to understand another culture, which I find really, it's good for my character,
Yeah.
you know?
Jenny, I appreciate your time.
Well,
One
thank
last
you
question.
very much. Yes.
What does Todos Santos mean to you?
Goodness, that's flummoxed me. What does it mean to me? Home.
Yeah.
Truly, I found home here. I found family. I found community. I can never leave. I mean, I used to joke and say, they're taking me out of here feet first in a casket. And my children say, Mum, I love it. I don't know. It's entered my, I've never lived anywhere like here. And I've lived a lot of places. I love it. I love it.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you, Nick.
Everyone, until the next one, bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronaval Real Estate and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronaval. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at ronaval.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.